Buenos dias, Reece. Thank you for joining us today at Business Spotlight Series.
Oh, thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here.
Me too. I'm really excited to have today with us Reece Donnelly, Managing Director of Theatre School of Scotland, whose mission is to provide young Scottish performers with elite performing arts training in acting, singing, and dancing that is unparalleled. Wow, very impressive, Reece. So, can you tell us a little bit more about what you do and for how long you've been doing it?
First of all, I mean, it all sounds so much better in your accent, doesn't it?
Definitely.
It sounds so much better.
Brilliant.
So yeah, as you said, thank you very much for that introduction. That was lovely. I own Scotland's largest commercial theatre school. So we specialise in taking young performers from as young as 3 right up to adults, and we take them through every kind of step of the way, from acting for TV, musical theatre, singing, dancing, vocal coaching, you can name it, we specialise in it. And we really work hard on making sure that they have international opportunities. So whether that's performing abroad, whether that's performing in their own country, but also we really like to see your talent represented on TV and theatre across the UK. So we also have a talent agency which specialises within making sure that the students are represented on screen and on stage.
Brilliant. That's very impressive. Now, is this something you always wanted to do when growing up? How did it come about?
Not at all. No, I was a child actor when I was pretty young. I started when I was about 7 or 8. I started on a kids show, and then I wanted to be a lawyer, so I picked my subjects at school towards that, and then very quickly I realised it wasn't for me, so I went off and studied at drama school full-time. And then after that, worked as an actor, did a few touring jobs, did some screen stuff. And then I realised that acting wasn't really a full-time job unless you are James McAvoy. So I decided that I would start something on a pretty small scale in my local area. And then before you knew it, it kind of grew arms and legs to what we are today.
That's brilliant. That's amazing. Now, who is the first person that comes to mind when you think about success?
Probably a few people that come to mind, but like I've said this before, but last year I filmed on a show called The Apprentice, and in business, Lord Sugar is someone that I think, wow, he's really got some successes there.
Yes.
But in my industry, there's so many people. There is so many people that have created phenomenal schools, you know, from the original people that created Italia Conte to Arts Ed, just so many greats before me that have done this.
Has any of them had an influence, an impact in you?
Yeah, I think you take influence from everyone, but I would say that on that, I really don't like to look in the UK for influence. I always say this because people in the UK and people in Scotland are all trying to do the same thing, and I subconsciously don't follow a lot of other businesses in the UK. I always follow businesses in Dubai, Australia, in the US, just because I always feel like, I hate to say this to Britain, but they are normally a bit of a step ahead to us.
Yes, brilliant. That's very refreshing to hear. What business changes have you had to make because of COVID, going through COVID?
Well, we actually were closed as a country for about 11 months. So we had to close the school for 11 months, and we just moved the full school online. So we were still teaching 600 students every day online during COVID. So all it meant is what we've done is we basically changed our timetable from in studio to online. Yes. Which was amazing. But after COVID, we've really had to change the infrastructure of our students' welfare. You probably know this, but some students just aren't quite the same. And for so many ways for the better, but for so many ways, we've got so many different mental health crises. And just people aren't quite the same. And we've had to adapt our teaching and adapt our support systems. So now we have an amazing array of partners who come in and work at the school to make sure that our students are mentally strong, physically strong, and everything else. But I think COVID taught us a hell of a lot about ourselves, and that we probably need to just slow down a bit and appreciate life a bit more.
That's brilliant. And I'm sure parents will have been very grateful to have during COVID the Zoom sessions with their kids, because they had so much time for themselves, right?
I mean, I think that, to be honest, I'm not going to lie, I don't know how much longer we could have done it. There's only so much acting on Zoom and singing on Zoom and dancing on Zoom you can do. So
Yeah.
I was very grateful when the then First Minister opened back up, put it that way.
Brilliant, brilliant. What is your biggest learning since you've been a business owner?
I mean, probably one of my worst assets is I like things done yesterday. And that's always been my ethos. So I would say that I definitely don't operate at the pace that I used to operate at before. And I sit on decisions before they're made for about 2 weeks, because I used to be very reactive, and whatever I thought was good, it would go like that. And I think over the years, I've realized that some of those decisions actually just cost us lots of money. So now I sit on decisions for a bit longer, which is probably a bit wiser.
Very interesting. Great insight. What are your aspirations, Reece, for the business for the next 5 years? Where do you want to take the business to?
I want one of these in every town across the UK, and I want to franchise across the UAE and across Europe. So yeah, I think that I want to teach children that it can and it will happen if you put the work in. And I think that I really want to teach children that there are amazing opportunities out there. There are so many potentials to work on screen, to work on stage. And one of my pet hates is when drama teachers, dance teachers make out as if the industry is so hard. Every industry is hard. Whether you want to be a doctor, it's hard. Whether you want to be a school teacher, it's hard. So I think that that mentality needs to go, and we need to educate the next generation that if you work hard, the success will come. So my full ethos is just to work with as many students across the world as possible.
That's brilliant. That's brilliant. And so many businesses across all industries are finding very difficult to recruit, okay? Particularly to recruit talent and to retain talent. What are your thoughts on the current employment situation in Scotland?
I couldn't agree more. I honestly feel that, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I don't know if a lot of people enjoy full-time working anymore. And I think that's maybe come from COVID. But we have constant battles of that. Where my industry is also very hard is we have a lot of performers who still want to perform, but they also love to teach. So we maybe get them in a full-time contract, and then their agent phones, and before you know it, they need to go and do a job. So I can totally comprehend how every other business owner feels. And I do think what we've done as an organisation is we've given our staff the maximum that we can give them. So we now give private medical insurance. We now, give pension schemes. We have amazing external partners. So all of my staff now have, a financial advisory service they can go to, the private medical insurance. All of this sort of stuff just maybe helps make them feel a bit more supported, because we couldn't run this business without the team. The team are everything in here.
Yeah, definitely, definitely. What has been your biggest issues you've had to overcome in your journey to build a business to where you are today?
What has been my biggest journey to overcome? I think that I opened my business when I was 19, and I think a lot of people in those earlier days thought, how long is this going to last? When is this going to end? And my whole ethos is I don't think that there's a right age or a wrong age to open a business. If you have a product and there is a gap in the market, then go. And I would tell anyone from 5, 6, 7 years old to go for it. And I think that probably in those earlier days, I probably let that bother me much more than what it should have. Whereas it's taken me a long time to be very unapologetically me, and I won't be changing that. But I think in those earlier days, I used to really worry what those around me had to say. But that's definitely a time of the past now.
That's brilliant. And that's very good for people watching this recording who are thinking of running their own business to go for it. And I love what you said, to be unapologetically me. You know, that's
Yeah.
brilliant. That's why you are so successful, because, yeah,
I
being.
think that so many times, like over the years, you would dilute a version of you. And for the past 3 years, I would like to think that, like, I've done a lot of personal development work. I've read all the books. I've did all the work. I've had many a life coach. And I just kind of feel that it's a much better place to be when you are very authentically you.
And that transmits talking to you here, you know.
Yeah.
So that's brilliant. You said you've read a lot of books. What's one of your favorite books that had an impact?
Oh, there's one book that changed my life. There's actually two books that changed my life, but
Go for
I
it.
read a book called The Third Door, and it's a business book that teaches the ethos that you're not always going to get it through walking through the front door. And it uses a nightclub as the scenario. So, you might not get in through the front door, you might not get in through the VIP entrance, but you could always enter through the back cellar and find your way into that club. And I think that is a mindset that I love. I'm like, the first way and the second way might not work, but if you're persistent and you persuade and persuade, then 9 times out of 10, they're going to give you that shot.
What's the name of the book again?
The Third Door.
The Third Door. Brilliant. Haven't read that. I'm making a note of it.
Yeah, it's a fab book.
Fantastic. Thanks for sharing that, Reece. What does the future look like, and what do you see as the main challenges moving forward?
Moving forward, I need to open our first UK site that isn't in Scotland. So that's what I'm moving on to next. I need to make sure that my team are fully ready to take over my role in Scotland. And I would love to continue on working in the sort of TV and radio sector that I'm doing. I've found myself over the past kind of 9 months doing a lot more situations like this, a lot more public speaking, a lot more TV work. And I really feel that that serves my purpose, because when I was younger, I always thought that I would be on TV as an actor. Whereas, as I've said, like in the past few years, I've loved this idea that, I am enough to be on a screen and tell my story and help other people and just, have fun. And I think that what it's all about is just being yourself. And I think that last year I was on a show that really made me realize, well, I actually don't need to hide behind a character. I can just be me.
Brilliant. I like that. That's great. What would you say to anyone thinking of going into business?
I mean, a few things. I probably would have worked back to front years ago. Nowadays, please look at your policies and procedures and make sure that everything is watertight before building a logo. I think if I was 19 again, the first thing I would have done is went on Canva and made a logo, whereas that is the last thing that needs to happen. You need to have a structure, a plan, a framework, and know where you're going, because it's very easy to open and let the floods in. But if you know where you're going, it makes it a hell of a lot easier.
Wow, very good. Excellent. So you spent a lot of time at the beginning doing the logo without anything behind.
Oh, it was just stupid. It was just a waste of time. I don't know why. So
a shiny object. Yeah.
The branding, the marketing, and I was like, this is just a sub part of the business. Like, what is the infrastructure? Where is the finances coming from? Where are we going? Yeah, I learned that the wrong way.
Yeah, brilliant. A lot of people do that. So, what do you have any advice for your 18-year-old self?
Probably that it's all going to be all right is what I would say. I think that, like, at that age, I was pretty boisterous and pretty bold, but I certainly had a lot of doubts of, like, would this work? Would this not work? And, in Scotland, we're ingrained to think that success is getting an apprenticeship or getting a 9-to-5 job and going away for one holiday a year. And I would say to my 18-year-old self, let's live in a world where things happen on a big scale. And I think that would probably motivate me a lot more.
Fantastic. That's great. And Reece, Do you have, before we wrap up, do you have any news or offers that you would like to share with the audience watching this recording?
No, we are back filming. I also run a podcast called the Scottish CEO Show. We are back filming season 2 just now, and season 1 can be streamed live on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and everything else, wherever you get your podcasts. So no, I'll say it now, but 2024 is the year that we will open up in England, which is super exciting for us all. So I look forward to getting to work on that.
Great. Well, Reece, it's been a real pleasure having you join us today at Action Coach Spotlight Business Series, and for sharing your experience, wisdom, and candor. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been so appreciated and lots of fun. Lovely to chat to you.
Thank you, Reece.
No worries.